Good morning. Okay. I assume you can hear me all right. No,
I can hear you. Good morning.
Okay. All
Good
right.
morning.
Morning. All right. I'm going to get us started as we get settled of the sponsors. And then we'll go into the Gemara because it's a lot of material today. Not necessarily difficult, but these long sections of Agadata.
And that's interesting about
Listen, yesterday's was, right? As we say in French, nicht schlecht, right? Okay. Right? A learning sponsors, Sue and Arnie, a year of learning, Sue and Arnie Gerlich, in memory of Malcolm Perlman and Philip Mann, and Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Henya Rivka Pro Rosner bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust, Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bet Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo ben Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Always strikes me, I hate to say it, but they named the daughter Pesel. You know, that just surprises me. What? Can you get by? Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. Continuing then. Sharon and
Other
Frederick
people may name their daughter Mara.
and many friends in memory of her dear mom, Harriet Friedman, Edelbas Yaakov. Leslie and Gail Kaplan in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Siddell, Irving and Pearl Kaplan. Friends of Avi Gitler, Avram Meir ben Shimon, and Martha Gitler China bat Yeshaya. Children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris. Sarah Tova bat Yisrael Dove in her memory. Friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef ben Chaim. Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata bat Asher. Friends of Nina Moinester, Nechama Asna bat Yitzchak Aharon. Friends of Joe Wolf. Yosef ben Chaim, this one's on here twice. And this one's on here twice. A month of learning, finishing up today. Myself, wife Karen, and friends in memory of Karen's mother, Nechama bat Moshe HaKohen. Also finishing today, Charlie Gelfenstein in memory of his father, Meir ben Yaakov. Marcia Federbush in memory of her father, Menachem Mendel ben Shlomo. Ruvain and Susan Podolsky in memory of his mother, Freda Bashraga Feivel. Phyllis and Chaim Reese in memory of her father, Pinchas ben Avraham. Rebecca, Lewis, and Susan Wotonsky in memory of their aunt and sister, Miriam bat Yosef Devora. We have week of learning today by Marty and Marla Teichman in memory of his father, Yom Tov Lipa ben Avraham. And that is it. May the Neshamas have an aliyah, crank Rafia, Valti Yashir, Hashem Atzliya, Mechol B'nai Israel, a good Gaben Shtian. Okay. Alan, you on as well? Okay. All right, so we're going to be picking up, I believe, on Kaf Aleph, right? Amud Aleph, right? Top line is where we're going to start, all right? And you can see these Amudim are not short, okay? But as I say, basically Agadata, okay? Now, what have we been talking about? Dilapidated walls, okay? Situation. No, I know you showed them downstairs. That was, okay, that was in keeping with the Gemara, right? Okay, and so we're going to have a number of stories that tie into that particular motif. Okay, all right, and so that's why we've got so much Agadita here. Okay, so we starting on first line of Kaf Aleph Amud Aleph towards the end of the line. Ilfa, the Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, just a quick point out that Ilfa was a generation between Tanaim and Amorim. He had studied with Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, okay, but then continued to study with Rabbi Yochanan, who was first generation Amoraim, and others. He is known, interestingly enough, not simply for halacha, but also for agadat. Okay, so it's not his status is recognized. So Ilfa v'Rabbi Yochanan havugar se ba'oraita. Ilfa and Rabbi Yochanan together were learning, reviewing Torah. Dechika laho milta tuva, and they were very hard pressed, says the Gemara, for things, for good things. In other words, for money. Okay, Amrei. So one said to the other, Nikom v'nizil v'na'aved. Let us get up and we'll go and we'll v'na'avid iska, and we'll become involved in business, right? Unikayim, okay, nafshech shin, and we'll satisfy, we'll fulfill the pasuk from Devarim, efes kilo yihye b'cha evyon, that therefore there will no longer be poor, impoverished individuals. Azlu, they went, right? And what happens? Otve tute guda, and they were sitting underneath a wall. Ra'iyah, it was a dilapidated wall. Havu karche rifta, and they were eating some bread. Atu tre malachi asharit. Along came two angels, right? This is the first wide line, right? What happens? Sham'e Rabbi Yochanan da'amar, and Rabbi Yochanan heard the angels talking. Chad lechavre, one to another, right? Okay, what did they say? Nishte alayhu hay guda v'naktalinu. Let us knock down or throw down this wall, and we'll kill them. Okay, why? Shemanichin chaye olam haba v'oskin b'chaye sha'a. Because they are giving up, or they're setting aside the world to come, okay, through Torah study, and instead indulging in work, everyday kinds of things, right? Amar le'idach, the other one said to the other, one said, responded, the angels, Shavkinhu, let's leave them. De'ika baho chad, de'kaima le sha'ata, because there is one among them whose time has not yet come about. In other words, the implication being he has not reached the peak of his career, right? And therefore, there is time yet for him to live and so on. Okay? Rabbi Yochanan Shama, Rabbi Yochanan heard, okay? Ilfa lo Shama, Ilfa did not hear, right? Amale Rabbi Yochanan le'ilfa, and he said to Ilfa, Shama mar midi, did the master hear something? Amar lo, he said to him, no. Amar mi de sham'ai, ana, since I heard, ve'ilfa lo shama, and Ilfa did not hear it, shma mina ledidi kaima li sha'ata. It must mean that it was intended for me, that I am the one whose time is yet to come. Okay? So therefore, Amar le Rabbi Yochanan says to Ilfa the following, okay, ihadar, I'm going to go back, v'okei b'nafshai, and I will continue being on my own, learn on my own, on myself. Okay, and I will fulfill, therefore, the word phrase, ki lo yichdal evyon mikerav haaretz. And in that way, I still fulfill the pasuk that there will not discontinue to be poor among the earth. So what happens, says the Gemara? Rabbi Yochanan Hadar, Ilfa lo Hadar. Rabbi Yochanan returned back, I'm going to assume, to the base midrash to continue his learning, but Ilfa did not go back at that time to the base midrash to learn. Ata Ilfa, okay, until Ilfa returned, implied from back to the base midrash. After all his business travels, what happened? Malich Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan became appointed to be the Rosh Yeshiva, and he therefore was presiding over the, not just the yeshiva, he was presiding over the base. Amrulo, and they said to Ilfa, I ativ mar v'garis. In other words, others said to Ilfa, if the master had come back and sat himself and continued learning, lo hava malich mar, wouldn't Ilfa have been appointed the Rosh Yeshiva, so to speak? All right. Azal tala nafshe ba'askarya desfinata. He went up and was hanging, I'm going to say, from the mast of a ship. Amar, and he said, I'ika d'sha'ili b'matnita, the Rabbi Chia, the Rabbi Oshaya, v'lo pashtina, le'mi matnitin. Okay? Nafilna me'askarya desfinata v'tav'ana. So his answer to them was, I'ika d'sha'il. If somebody is able to come and ask me a question on the Mishnahs or the Braitas, okay? In this case, of Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Oshaya, they were considered to be the editors of the Brises, of the Tosefta, okay? V'lo pashtinale, and I can't answer him mimatnitin from a Braita or a Mishnah, okay? Implying that even though he was busy traveling and doing business, Ilfa still did continue at least a certain amount of ongoing learning, right? What happens, what I will do, excuse me, nafilna ba'askarya desfinata v'tavana. I will allow myself to fall from this masthead of the ship and I will drown. Ata hahusaba tanale. Along came a senior gentleman, all right, and he cited the following. Could be. Okay, possible.
First thing you think of.
Okay, all right. Okay, so he cites the following Braita. Ha'omer tanu shakel b'nai b'Shabbat. One who says, okay, to take a shekel for my sons each week, v'hein ru'uyim latet lehem sela, but they are worthy each week, in other words, for their Shabbos preparations and everything, to receive a sela, okay, which is a much larger amount of coinage, okay? Notnim lehem sela, then you give them a sela. Ve'im amar al titnu lahem ela shekel. But if he says, don't give them any more than a shekel, right? Ein notnim lehem ela shekel. You do not give them any more than a shekel. Im amar, and here there's a question of text, okay? One text is metu, im metu is another girsa of the text, okay? Yoshu acherim tachtehem, let others inherit after them. Bein shamar tanu bein shamar al titnu. Regardless of whether the parents said to give them or don't give them. Ein notnim lehem ela shekel. We don't give them any more than a shekel. Amarle, Hamani. He said to him, according to whom is this? Braita? Rabbi Meir. It's Rabbi Meir. The Amar mitzvah lekayim divrei hamet, who said it is a mitzvah to satisfy the words of the deceased. Okay? So now what happens? Amru alav. Okay, so that's the end of one story. Okay, the dilapidated building was where Alpha and Rabbi Yochanan had been sitting, and so on.
What's the story with, I don't understand the story with the mosque, we're standing up on the mosque. So what happened with that?
Okay, in other words, he was able to give an answer. He was able to give an appropriate answer to the person who was citing, to the quote, old man who was citing, right?
Oh, so that was his answer.
That was his answer, right? So number one, it showed that Alpha still continued learning. And number two, but nevertheless, it showed, okay, the issue. Now, a second,
Maybe Yoga held like Shmo and Brochus, Hanukkah to have mimic their Eretz.
yeah,
And Rabbi Yochanan held it with him very quiet,
uh-huh,
that you have to sit.
And learn.
all the time.
right. Okay, let's go on. The second story, again, regarding a dilapidated wall. Okay? You can cite all these to the contractor, okay, Ted? Okay. Amru,
He's hiding from us.
yeah. Amru alav al Nachem ish Gamzu. Now we have another story with another famous sage, Nachem ish Gamzu. Great story. Shahaya sumam ishtei einav. He was blind in both eyes. Gidam ishtei yadav. And he was, I'm going to use the word amputated, but that's not the best translation here because kote kita really means amputated.
Shriveled.
Shriveled would be one possibility. What?
Maybe paralyzed.
Paralyzed, whatever. In other words, he was not able to use his hands, right? Kita mishtei raglav, he was amputated in both legs. The kol gufo malei shchin, and his entire body was full of boils. Okay. So one time, I don't always like the fact, in this case, Koren translated Gida and Kita with the same word, but the Gemara, if it uses different lashon, got to be sensitive to the lashon of the Gemara, right? Okay, right? So what happens? V'hayamu tal b'bayit ra'ua, and he lived in a dilapidated house. V'raglei mitato munachim b'sfalin shel mayim, and the legs of the bed were in cups full of water, shomayim, kadei shelo ya'alu alav nimalim, so that ants won't crawl up the bed and attack him, so to speak. Pam echad, one day, hayta mitato munachet b'bayit ra'ua. His house still was in a dilapidated, right? Was dilapidated. Bikshu talmidav lifnot mitato. The students wanted to remove his bed with him on it, okay, and to remove his utensils, his clothes, etc. Amar hilahem, he said to them, Banai, my children, right? They call their students. Panu et hakelim v'achar kach panu et mitati. Okay, remove the utensils and clothes first, and then afterwards remove my bed. Shemuvtach lachem kol zman she'ani b'bayit ein habayit nofel. So that it is guaranteed to you that so long as I am in the house will not fall. Right? Pinu et hakelim v'achar kach pinu et mitato. They removed the bed, the utensils and clothes, and afterwards they removed the bed. B'nafal habayit, and then the house fell in. Amrulo, they said, Talmidav, his students said to him, Rebbe, what happened? V'chime achar shetzadik gamurata, since you are such a righteous person, lama alta lach kach, why are you in such a condition? Okay? Amar lehem, he said to them, Banai, my children, ani garamti le'atzmi, I caused it to myself, he says. Once One time I was going to the house of my father-in-law. V'haya imi masui shlosha chamurim. And I had loaded up 3 donkeys. Echad shel macha, one full of food. V'echad shel mishteh, one full of drink. V'echad shel minei megadim, and one full of all sorts of treats and dainties, right? Ba'ani echad, along came a very poor person. Va'amad li b'derech, and he stood in front of me in the roadway. Va'amar li Rebbe, and he said to me, Rebbe, parnaseni, sustain me. Amarti lo hamtan ad she'efrog min hachamor, wait till I unload the donkey. Lo hispakti lifrok min hachamor ad sheyetzta nishmato. I didn't finish unloading the donkey, and the individual died. Okay? Halachti v'nafalti al panav. I went and fell on his face. V'amarti, and said, Einai shelo chasu al einecha yisomu. My eyes that did not have mercy on your eyes, they should be blinded. Yadai shelo chasu al yadecha. My hands that did not have mercy on your hands. Yitgadamu. They should be shriveled. They should be, okay. Raglai shelo chasu al raglecha. My feet that did not have mercy on your feet. Yitkatau. They should be amputated. V'lo nitkarara da'ati ad she'amarti kol gufi yehei malei shechin. And I did not close off my mind, so to speak, okay, until I said that my whole body should be suffering with boils. Amrulo, they said to him, the students, Oy lanu shere'inucha b'chach. Woe is us that we see you in such condition. Amar lehem, he said to them, Oy li im lo re'ituni b'chach. Woe is me that you did not see me in such a condition. In other words, your seeing me reflects the fact that I gain atonement from this act. Okay? Va'amai karu le Nachum ish gamzu. And why did they call him Nachum, the man that also says this is for good? Okay, as we get to another story. The chol milta, the have salkale, that anything that happened, that fell upon him or happened to him, amar gam zulatova, that he said this is also beneficial. And we're going to get another story. Zim nechada ba'u l'shdure Yisrael doron lebe kezar. One time, it was necessary, I'm going to translate it, for the Jews to send a gift, okay, to the Caesar. Amru man yizil, who will bring it? Okay, Yazil Nachum ish gamzu. Let it be brought by Nachum ish gamzu, the milumad b'nisinhu, because he is familiar, comfortable with miracles. Right? Why? Shadaru bidei malo sifta. Okay, and what did they do? They sent in his hands a full chest, the avanim tovot umargoliot, of precious stones and jewels. Azal bat ba'ahu dira, and he went and came and arrived and stayed in a particular inn. Balelia, kamu hanach diurai, v'shakilnuhu lesifte. Okay, at night, other residents of the inn got up and they went and they took the contents, I'm going to say, of the chest, umalanuhu afra, and they filled it with earth. Right? Lemachar ki chazanhu. Okay, next morning, when he saw what happened, amar gam zulatova. He said that also may be beneficial. Kimata hatam, when he arrived there to the palace of the Caesar, right? Sharinhu lesifta. Okay, they opened the chest. Chazanhu demalu afra, and they saw that it was full of earth. What happened? Ba'amalka lamiktalinhu lekuhu. The king, okay, in this case, the Caesar, wanted to kill all of those who were accompanying Nachamush Gamzu. Right? Amar, he said, Come achaychu bi Yehudai. Come see how the Jews mock me. Amar gam zolatova. But he said this is also for good, remember. What happened? Ata Eliyahu. Here's Eliyahu. Admele kichad minayu. And he appeared to the king like one of his advisors. Okay? Amarle, and he said to the king, Dilma ha'afra. Perhaps this earth may afra da Avraham avuhonu, is the earth that belonged to Abraham, their ancestor, right? And what about that? The chihava shade afra, because when he was able to throw the earth, havu saife, it became swords. Gili, okay, and havu gire, and when he threw a stubble that was in the earth, it became arrows. Dichtiv, as it's written in Yeshayahu, Yitain kafar charbo, kekashni daf kashto. Okay, so the Gemara tells us, Havya chada medinta. There was a particular province, Delo matzula mikpasha, that he was not able to conquer, right? But kumine, they examined this. In other words, they tried out the earth, kavshuha, and they were able to conquer it, right? Ailu lebe ganiza. They then went to the king or the Caesar's treasury, umaluhu v'sifte avanim tovot margoliot. They then went and filled his chest with precious stones and pearls. Right? V'shadruhu biyikra darabba, and they sent him with a great deal of honor. What happened? Ki atu, when he went, right? Beto bahahu diura, he stayed in the very same inn where he stayed previously. Amrule, and they said to him, "My atit bahadach de avde lachia kulihai." What did you do that they treated you, I'm going to say, with such great honor, right? Amar lahu, he said to them, "My deshakle mehacha, what I brought from here, amte lahatem, I transported to there. Setru l'deraihu." Okay, what happens? They sort of hid. Okay, but really meant they went back to their residence. All right, to the inn, and what did they do? Va'amtinu lebei malka. In other words, they got earth that was there. They destroyed the inn, and they took the earth and whatever else was there, and they brought that then themselves to the king, to the ruler. Amrule, they said to him, Hi afra da'aitite hacha mididanhu. That earth that he brought from here, it was from ours that he brought it. In other words, what happened? Bad kuha velo ashkachuha. They checked out that earth and it didn't work. Okay, it wasn't successful. So what happened? V'katlinu lahanech dioraihu, and the king therefore ordered that all of those residents from that inn would be killed. Now, ezuhu he dever. Now we come back to our Mishnah. Okay.
This is before he had abdicated legs and arms.
We assume so, yeah.
How come they just said it with him and not with guards? I don't understand.
Because they felt miracles occurred to him. Okay, in other words, he was a special kind of person and therefore nothing bad should happen. Right? Okay, all right. Now let's go. So Ezehu Deva, we said what was pestilence? That was what the Mishnah told us. Ir hamotziach hamesh me'od ragla. All right, it was a city in which 500 soldiers, infantry came up. And we said in the Mishnah that 3 people died successively in 3 days. right? Tanu Rabbanan says a Braita. Ir Hamotzia Chamesh Me'ot Va'elef Ragli, a city that puts out, right, 1,500 soldiers, infantry. Kagon Kfar Akko, like the city of Akko. Viatzu Himena Tisha Meitim Bishlosha Yamim. And there are 9 people that died in 3 days. Ze achar ze, successfully, one after the other. Harei ze dever, that is a sign of pestilence. Biyom echad, if they all died in 1 day. O ba'arba yamim, or they died in 4 days. Ein ze dever, that we don't consider the result of pestilence. Right? Ve'ir hamotzia chamesh me'ot ragle, and a city that puts out 500 infantry, kigon kfar amiko, like the village of Amiko, v'yatzu mimena shlosh metim b'shlosha yamim, and from them 3 die in 3 days, ze achar ze, one after the other. Harei ze dever, that is considered pestilence. Let's go over the next Amud. Biyom echad o ba'arba yomim, if we say it's in 1 day or in 4 days, ein ze dever, that we don't say pestilence. Now, next piece, line 2. Drokart, which is the name of a city. Ir hamotzia chamesh me'ot ragle hava. It was a city that would put out 500 infantry, right? V'yatzu mimena shlosha meitim biyom echad. And they're derived from them 3 deceased in 1 day. Gazar Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda ta'anita. Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda declared a fast. Amar Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, who said to him, Keman, according to whom? To Rabbi Meir, according to the view of Rabbi Meir de Amar, who says, Richak negichutav chayav. Okay, he's citing another example. If you have an ox that is goring other animals or people, and there's a distance between, the ox doesn't do it all successively, but does it 1 day, and then the next day another day, then the next day another day. Okay, what is he saying, Rabbi Meir? That owner of the ox is chayiv. Kirev niguchatav, and if the ox gored, okay, where the gorings occurred close together, right?
3 gorings in 1 day.
3 gorings, let's say in 1 day would be an example, right? Lo kol shekain. Isn't that not all the more so that he would be chayiv? So what happens? Amar le Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda. He responded and said to him, the Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, according to the view of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, likum mar, okay, lite legaban, okay. If that's the case, that you're able to derive such kinds of halacha, why don't you come and live with us? Come and dwell. In other words, be a leader in our community. Okay. Amarle, he said to them, to Tanina, we learned as follows. Rabbi Yossi Omer, he says, Lo mikomo shel adam mechabdo. Not that the place honors the man, ela adam mechabedet mikomo, but the man honors the place. Shekain matzinu bahar Sinai. That this is what we found in regarding Mount Sinai. Shekol zman she'ashchina shuya alav amra Torah, gam hatzon v'habakar al yiru el mul hahar hahu. So long as the Shekhinah was on Mount Sinai, okay, we see that the Torah tells us that the cattle and sheep cannot pasture on that mountain. Nistalka Shekhinah mimenu, once the Shekhinah left, Amra Torah, It's as if the Torah then tells us, "B'mishol hayovel hema ya'alu bahar." In that case, it is permitted for them to go up on the mountain. V'chein matzinu bo'el mo'ed shebamidbar. And likewise, we see the same was true regarding the tabernacle in the desert, in the wilderness. Shekol zman shehu natui, so long as it was a standing, erected, things like that. Amra Torah, the Torah says, v'yishalchu min ha'machaneh kol tzarua, that you send out of the camp anyone who is a leper. Okay, huglalu haparochet. Once, however, the paroches, okay, was rolled up, right? Hutru zavin v'hametzoraim likanesham. Then not only were those who were leprous, but those who were zav, okay, also were able to come to that area. Amarle, and he said to him, Ihachi, if that's the case, nikum ana legabe mar. Okay, I will get up and go with the master. Amarle, he said to him, Mutav yavom mana ben pras, eitzel mana ben mana. It is better, he says, that the a small coin go after, let's say, a half, in other words, a less coin, right? Eitzel mana ben mana, rather than a higher coin go after a other coin. Va'al yavo mana ben mana, and not a higher coin go after a higher coin, eitzel mana ben pras. Then a higher coin go after a half coin. Okay, in other words, is it better? And what he's telling him in essence is that if you're better that the scholar go after the community where there's other scholars, then a scholar go after an individual who is let's say a poor person or a less person where there's no opportunity for the scholar to indulge in other scholars and other learning. Okay? Right, so that's what the Gemara tells us. Okay, let's go on with other examples. Now we ask the question about dever. What about other kinds of calamities that befall the community? Besura havat davarta. In Surah that was again the word dever. There was a plague, right? Beshivavute, the Rav, in the neighborhood, I'll use that phrase, of Rav, lo havete davarta. There was no plague. Savru mine, mishum zechute de Rav. People thought it was due to the merit of Rav, the nafish, because he had a lot of merit, right? Itchazeh lahu bechilma, and it was revealed to them in a dream. Rav, the nafish zechute tuva. Rav, who had much great merits, ha milta zutra leila Rav. This issue of the plague was a minor issue. Okay, in other words, we said previously in a previous Gemara that if Hashem answers a nace or something, it reduces the merit of the person. But this plague, it was saying, it was not a big enough issue to have to reduce anything from Rav's merit. Instead, Ela Mishum Hahu Gavra, but rather it was because of the merit of an average person, the Shiel Mara Uzvila, that he would lend out a hoe and a shovel, or a shovel and a spade, right? Likvura, for the purposes of burial, right? Okay, and another town, right? Question? Okay. Bidero Kararta, in that town, Havit Delikta. There was a fire. Ubashivavute de Rav Huna, and in the neighborhood of Rav Huna, Lo Havit Delikta. There was no fire. Savur mina b'zechuta de Rav Huna de Nafish. Okay, They thought it was due to the merit, the great merit of Rav Huna. Itchazei laho b'chilma, and it appeared to them in a dream. Hai zutra le Rav Huna. This was too minor for Rav Huna. Ela mishum hahi itita, the mechamemet tenura. Rather, it was due to the merit of a particular woman who would warm up her oven. Excuse me. Umeshaile l'shivavute, and she would loan it out to member people in her neighborhood. Amrule the Rav Yehuda. And now a new statement. They once said to Rav Yehuda, Atu kamse gezarti nata. There are locusts coming, declare a fast. Amrule, he said to them, or he said to him, Lo kamifsaden. Okay, they're not going to devour much. They're not going to do any terrible damage. Amru laho, and he amar laho. He said to them, what was his answer? Zivda, aitu bahadayu. Do they have provisions? They responded back to him. Are these locusts going to bring their own food, so to speak? Do they have provisions that they're going to bring with them? Amrule. Okay, they said to him, the Rav Yehuda, Ika Motna, B'chaziri. They once said to Rav Yehuda, there is a pestilence among the pigs. Now, why is this important? It's important for us to realize, as the Gemara is now going to tell us, okay, in a moment, Gazar Ta'anita. In that case, he did declare a fast. The Gemara wants to say, Nema kasava Rav Yehuda, Maka, right, Mishulachat Mimin Echad, Mishulachat Mikol Haminim. Wouldn't this seem to tell us, or give the opinion that Rav Yehuda holds, that if there is a Maka, a pestilence, a plague, a disaster that struck in one variety, because due to one variety of animal, okay, shouldn't it apply to other varieties, all sorts of animals? No, that's not the case, is the Gemara. Shani chazire, the damyan ma'ayu lebnei inshe. Why? He says, because pigs are different, because their internal organs are similar to those of human beings. Okay? Right? If you weren't aware of that, I'll tell a story if we have time here afterwards. Okay? Amrule, and they said to him, L'shmuel to Shmuel, Ika motna beichazoi. Okay? There is a pestilence, right? Okay? Beichuzai, at the house of Chuzai, Gazar Ta'anita, and he declared a fast. Amarle, he said to him, Vahamerchak, but it's far away. Amar, he said, Leka ma'avra hacha de pasikle. Okay, there is no bridge here, so to speak, here in which to stop. In other words, it can pass, it can be transferred. Amrule, they said to him, Rav Nachman, Ika motna ba'ara de Yisrael. There is a plague in the land of Israel. Gezar ta'anit. He declared the fast. Amar, and he said, Im gevira loka, if a person is struck, shifcha lo kol shechein, then the mistress, how much more so? In other words, if Eretz Yisrael is where all right, if the Eretz Yisrael is considered like the mistress, okay, and if it's struck in plague, certainly Shifcha, which is Bavel, okay, how much more so is it possible that it might affect us as well, okay? So, Ta'ama de Gavira v'Shifcha. Why? The reason of the relationship between the mistress and the servant. Ha shifra v'shifra, shifcha v'shifcha lo, but from servant to servant, no. Vaha amrule. But here they said the Shmuel the following. Ika motna Bechuzai. There is a pestilence in the city of Bechuzai. Gazarta Anita. He declared a fast. Shani Hatam, he said, it's different there. Kevan de Ika Shairta de Lavai Va'ate Bahadiyai. Why? Because there are numerous caravans that come and travel from there to here. That's the situation. So in other words, okay, no, but Shmuel, remember, was also familiar with medicine. It's possible. A public health example right here.
Right, right,
Okay,
right,
clearly.
clearly.
Shut the border.
Okay, should close it. Okay, but the implication is very appropriate when we think about what's going on in terms of the transmission of disease. Okay, all right. Okay, so I just want real quick. I think I got a moment. All right, when I mentioned earlier, okay, the story of the pig's internal organs being similar to human. It was once a question when I was a Rav in a congregation that I had a member come and actually ask me a shaila. He was told by his cardiologist, that he would need exactly a valve replacement, and they would take the valve replacement from a pig's organs. Exactly. He asked me clearly if it was permitted for him to do so. I turned to him and I said, "Are you eating it?"
Only if you eat the hot
I said, so he realized what I meant by telling him that answer, that it was being implanted, number one. Number two, there was a shinui, okay, in terms of how it was being not used, but not just used, but it's treated before it's put it into a person. Okay, so that was the case. So that's why I just wanted to share that. And it's true, they were using that at one time very clearly for that situation. I don't know. I never had a conversation. Okay.
What about pills that they, like, there's some pills that they sell, it said contains porcine dose.
Right. There was a shaila, I believe, long ago. I can't tell you where, but I believe that they indicated that because, again, of shinui, okay, and how they changed whatever it was into a different form because they had to add chemicals and things like that, that there were opinions that said it would be permitted. Okay. I didn't say everybody says it's a heter, but that was the case. Right? All right. So what happens? So he talked about transmit. Right now, let's go on. We'll try to finish. Okay. Abba Umana. Okay. All right. So this was an individual who was a bloodletter. Okay. In those days, remember, by the way, why barbers have a red and white pole? Because they did bloodletting. Okay. That was why the symbol of the barber shop is red and white. Okay. So bloodletting was a common medical procedure way back when. Okay. They used to use leeches, particularly for that purpose. Okay. So Hava, right? Ate, Ale, Shalma, Mimativta, Derakia, Kol Yoma. And they used to greet him. In other words, the Mativta, Derakia, the Heavenly Academy, in other words, used to greet him every day. Okay. In other words, he would receive some sort of divine, right, every day. Le Abaye, as for Abaye, Kol Male Yoma de Shabta. He would receive a greeting from the Divine Academy, Erev Shabbos, once a week. The Rava, Kol Ma'ale Yoma de Kippurim. Rava would only receive it once a year, okay, on Erev Yom Kippur. What happens? Haveka chalsha da'ate da'abaye, mishum da'aba umma. Abaye was a little bit how come I only get it once a month, once a week, and he gets it every day? All right? Right. So what happened? Amrule, they said to him, Lo matzit abad ke'ovdei. It's because your acts, your behaviors aren't like his. My havu ovdei. So what were his acts? What did he do that made him so, right? The Abba Umna, what were the acts of Abba Umnana? The Chihava Avid Milta, when he would do a thing, in other words, when he would perform his surgery, have machit gavre lechud v'nashe lechud. He would set it up or place so that he did men separately, and then he separately did women separately. Ve'idle levusha, and he had a particular garment that he would use, okay, particularly for women. The itbe karna, that it had a slit in the garment. The havet bezia, okay, and the slit was sort of on the shoulder, okay, so that he would have the women put this garment on, all right, and that's right when he would do the incision. Ki havit ache le itita. When it happened that a woman would come, have malbishla, he would have her wear this garment, put on the garment. Ki hechi delonis takelba, so that he wouldn't be looking at any bare flesh. Okay? Ve'it le duchta ditzina. And what happens? Also, that we would say here that he would, right?
Do it in private.
He would do it in, private. He would do it, right? Makom tsanua, right? Okay. The shade be pshite, okay, and when they would send him coins, the shakil de idle, shade be. Those who had the money to pay him would pay him. The lidle, if they didn't have money, lo michsaf, right? He wouldn't want them embarrassed, and he didn't charge them anything. Ki hava atrame le surba merabanan, and when it came that it had to do with a student of the rabbis or a rabbi himself, right? Agramine lo shakil. He did not take any reward. He didn't take any payment. Gave a clergy discount. Okay? Ubatar. Okay. Dekai. Yahiv le pshite. All right? And afterwards, okay, if he was given these coins, va'amale, he said them, zil brei nafsh. Okay, go and he would give it to the, right? He would take that money and often give it to the poor or somebody who needed it and say, use that money to buy yourself food in order to help heal yourself. Okay? Yom echad, one day, Shadar Abaye Zuga de Rabbanan Lemivdeke. And one day Abaye sent a pair of scholars to check, right? So what happened? Odvinhu, they sat them down, va'achlinuhu, and he fed them, va'ashkinhu, and he gave them a drink, umach laho besit rake, belelia, and what did he do? And he gave them woolen mats to sleep on at night. Letzafra, the next morning, karchinuhu, they rolled up the mats, v'shakrinhu, and they took them. V'kamu v'nafku laho l'shuk, and they went and they took them out to the marketplace. We'll just go a little bit. V'ashkachinhu, and they found him. Amarle, and they said to him, okay, l'shaime, mar hechi shavu. Let the master come and tell us what you think the value is of these mats. Amarle, he said to them, hachi vahachi, such and such and such and such. Amarle, and they said to him, v'dilma shavu tfei, perhaps they're worth more. Amarle, he said to them, bahachi shaklinuhu. With these, in other words, that's how much I paid for them. Okay, amrule, okay, and they said, lidach ninhu, they are yours for shaklinhu minach, and we took them from you. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. Okay, and we'll see again his merit in the next. Okay.
Good Shabbos, good Chodesh, happy Hanukkah.